What's up, everyone, and welcome to another instalment of the Just an Insight podcast. We're now up to episode number 9. For anyone who is new to the show, or if you're a returning listener, my name is Tim Backbeck. I am a writer, I am a lover of music, films and wrestling, but most importantly of all, I am going to be your body and vehicle through this podcast. I usually like to start each show with a little ramble of what I've been up to in the past week, but if I'm totally honest, I haven't really been up to much this week, which is very unlike me. I've just been super busy with work and catching up on sleep over this weekend, but I have just got in from seeing Logan, which was pretty cool. Like, loads of people had kind of hyped it up, so I wanted to see what it was all about. Pretty impressed. I wouldn't say one of my favourite sort of comic book films, but as far as kind of the X-Men series goes, minus Deadpool, it's probably the best. So there'll be a review of that going up on the website, which is justaninsight.wordpress.com. That'll be going up in the next couple of days. I'm actually currently catching up on the opening round of the New Japan Cup, which you might be able to hear in the background. I'm not too sure, but currently watching Michael Elgin versus Bad Luck Fale, which for two massive guys is pretty impressive, I've got to say. So anyway, pleasantries out of the way, we'll get on to this week's episode. Joining me this week on the podcast is Stu Anderson and Chris Barling from the band Group of Man. The guys were down in Portsmouth for a charity show which raised more than £1,000 for the Rowan's Hospice down here in the south, which is phenomenal. And shout out to Greg Childs from Senator for sorting out that show. It was really cool, and yeah, raised loads of money. The guys took some time to speak to me about the new endeavours of the band, really. Basically how the band kind of started, the way they're going, how they're kind of more of a collective with the core group of members, with interchangeable members as well, but they get into that in the chat. This was the first time that I took all my recording gear like on the road with me, so for some reason the sound quality does dip in and out at times, so I do apologise for that. But as I've said in previous episodes, I'm still learning how to kind of do everything, and I had to do this in a bit of a rush because I was running late because I got stuck in traffic. Anyway, all that being said, I hope you enjoy the little chat I have with Chris and Stu, and I will see you on the other side. Joining me on this week's Just an Insight podcast is Chris and Stu from Group of Man, currently sat in the backstage area of the Wedge of Dreams before a charity show that the guys are doing. So how are we doing, guys?
Yeah, real good. I've had a chilled out afternoon.
Chilled out afternoon, unlike me being stuck in traffic for 2 hours to get to the show.
We ate a pie.
You ate a pie? What kind of pie?
I had a vegan pie that had cauliflower and kale in it.
Did you get it from Pie and Vinyl?
Yeah.
Oh, good choice.
I had a black pie.
Yeah.
What's a black pie?
It was literally a black pie, and it wasn't burnt. It was really nice.
Yeah, it was bizarre.
What, as in the pastry?
The pastry was black.
That's pretty cool.
It's very confusing. I was feeling really goth, so I thought I'd just go for it. Yeah.
And basically, the website's called Just an Insight. So the way I like to start this is get an insight of how Group of Man started. So how did the band come about?
I think it's for you, Chris, isn't it?
Yeah. All right. So kind of out of circumstance, because I moved back home, and what kind of also meant I had lived at Mark's house for a month.
Is it back into London?
Yeah. So I lived just like outside of London for like a few years. So when I was doing like older bands, and moved back home, and Mark, like I lived at Mark's for like a month or so, and we were doing this band called Mine before that really didn't do much, and we were just bored.
Yeah.
So I was like, let's just do a new band, and then we had this idea just to like write all the riffs. Like Mark can like, obviously he plays bass and guitar, and he just programmed the drums. So we just wrote the EP, like the first one we did, and then just recruited members.
Okay.
And we just had the one practice. That was it.
What as the kit as the original sort of?
Yeah, it was a pretty crazy start for me, because we were just chatting outside a gig, outside the Unicorn a while ago. Was that when it was?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was playing my last show with Paraiso and being recruited for the next band already.
I didn't know that we would just get you. We told you about it. That sounds cool, and then it stuck in my head, and I was like, "Stu thinks this is cool." So yeah, you got an email a few weeks later.
But it was a pretty crazy start to the band, because Yeah, so they'd written everything.
Okay.
And
so
we
you
had
just kind of jumped in. Sort of.
Yeah, so they'd written everything, and we had literally one practice. I got an email going, "Oh, do you want to actually do this? We've got an EP." It's like, yeah, we'll send it over. Let's have a listen. It was pretty good. And then, like a week later, we had a band practice, and then 3 days after that, we were recording. So it was like, it's pretty swift.
And as you mentioned, Chris, obviously you and Mark were in Mine. So was this kind of like an extension of that? Like, were some of the riffs that Mark had written meant to originally be Mine riffs, or was it just completely fresh start?
No, like totally different. Like Mark played bass in Mine, and all the guitar is done by Matt, and like you just can't. I don't really know anyone that plays like Matt. I don't think Mark would like be suitable. He's really good, obviously, but his style wouldn't have suited mine. So it was just like a totally fresh sort of thing, really. And it was just what he came up with at the time.
And from kind of the first listen of your first EP, I think obviously knowing you guys from the previous bands you did, it was very different. Especially kind of Paraiso was a lot heavier.
Yeah.
Obviously, Mine had that kind of doomy element. Hanging Bastard kind of had that sort of hardcore element, and it was completely different. So was that a conscious choice to go away from that kind of sound that you've done previously?
I don't know if it was really conscious. I mean, maybe subconsciously, because obviously it's better to like try new things and you know change things up. So yeah, I mean the thing with like Mark's really into like post-punk, like really loves bands like Gang of Four. You know, that kind of vibe. But we both love like aggressive hardcore as well, so it's just about mixing that sort of thing. I just wanted to write just kind of bangers, really. You know, like songs that aren't too long, like just sort of do stuff, bash them out, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's riffy, but I guess that because Mark used to be in like a doom band years ago, so I think that doom riff style was still in him, so he plays pretty good riffs. But yeah, no, I think it's all about moving forward. But as a band, like I think it changes all the time. Like I think our second EP is way different to the first one, and the 7-inch that we got coming out like in a few months is like totally different.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that was something I wanted to say, because obviously the first EP you brought out was, as I say, quite different from what you've done before. But then obviously the new one is even a step away from that, and I think that's kind of brought a lot more attention to you guys. But do you think that that's kind of got your name out there a bit more? Because obviously I think there's been a bit more press about it, obviously with it being on Holy Roar, that kind of gives it a name as well. So do you think that's helped get the name Group of Man out there a bit more?
What do you reckon?
I don't know, I think we just we had more time to think about what to do with this EP, so it was a conscious decision to try and chat to a few people at a few different labels and, you know, friends, and try and plan a sort of release schedule almost, you know, a way of doing it. So we intentionally did it with a bit more thought behind it. But I mean, stylistically, yeah, it is a bit of a step away, but I think that's purely a result of it being a band for a little bit. Whereas the first EP was, as Chris said, a kind of, you know, Chris and Mark sat around in his house like demoing and programming stuff, and then going straight into record when they've got a couple of people to play it. So, you know, we'd done a few shows and we'd done a bunch of practices, and we'd actually done more shows than we had practices, I think, by the time we'd done the second EP.
Yeah, definitely. Hardly ever practice.
So playing shows is almost your practices?
Yeah.
Almost.
We did play a lot last year as well, actually.
We did, yeah.
Surprisingly more than I thought we would. Because when we started the band, like, you know, the band was really just meant to be me and Mark.
Yeah.
And we were just like, oh, people could just come and go whenever. But I think once we did the EP and played a few shows, everyone was like, oh, it's actually pretty fun.
Yeah.
So like, do you know what I mean? I don't think you thought it would be what it is.
No, but it's kind of an interesting. It's a totally different approach to being in a band than how Paraiso was, because myself and Alex in Paraiso were sort of the driving force, I guess, in terms of what we actually did and writing and stuff with the band, and it felt pretty full on most of the time. Whereas with this, for me at least, I could sit back pretty much and just like Mark and Chris do all of that kind of side of things with the band, and it works really well. And, you know, with some of the latter songs, it's becoming more collaborative with the writing as well. And I think the next release that we're going to do is definitely going to be more of a kind of everyone come to the room with a bunch of ideas and we'll just work it out. Now that we've all played, done a couple of releases, played a bunch of shows together and know each other better and stuff. But it's quite nice that it doesn't feel like there's any pressure from anyone really to have to be able to do every single thing that the band wants to do. No. So tonight, I mean, it's myself and Chris, and then the other people that are playing are, our drummer's playing his first show with us tonight, having done literally 2 rehearsals with us. And the other guitarists have filled in on bass or guitar at other shows. So, if somebody can't make it, because we're all older now, we've all done a load of bands, so, we've all got real jobs. So, when somebody can't make it, it's just, okay, cool, we'll get somebody else to fill in, and there's no hard feelings about it.
And I think that's kind of, the name is very fitting, obviously, Group of Man, and obviously everyone, I think that I've seen you, tonight will be probably 4th time I've seen you, and I don't think I've seen the same lineup. So, is that kind of like the mentality of the band, that the fact that it doesn't necessarily matter if everyone can't do it because you've got friends that can fill in, and as you say, Stu, there's no hard feelings about it at all?
No, not at all. Like, I mean, we were going to play as a 6-piece tonight, which the band we actually decided would just be a 6-piece.
Okay.
Because, so Tom Hill, who, he recorded that cover that Employed to Serve did recently.
Oh, okay,
Played in a band called Artemis. He's always filling in, more. I think he's played more shows than Tom, who's actually our guitarist.
Okay.
Yeah.
You may as well just be in the band, he's super good. Just in case other people can't do it, and he's going to start writing with us as well. It's not like he's just a dude that just plays the shows. So Tom found out the other day that he couldn't come here, and it's just dude, you got to work. Do you know what I mean? It's fine. When we go on tour to Europe, in a couple of weeks, our friend Joe is going to play drums because Lucas can't come and stuff like that. It's fine. It's kind of the idea, really. It was just we have our solid kind of core members, and then whoever can be about, that's cool. If not, just get people in, and that's kind of nice as well because you get to hang out with different friends.
It feels like a bit of a collective almost.
Yeah,
it's like borderline collective.
I mean, to be fair, I just got the idea from Self Defense Family. There's 20 members, but you think about the amount of records they churn out. It must be so efficient. And I was why don't more people do that? It's just you hang out with all your mates. If you have friends who live far away or whatever, just be do you want to come play on a record? And it works. I just pre-ordered their new 7-inch. They recorded in 2015. That's how much time they're just churning out stuff all the time, and it's always good. So I think that's kind of the idea. I think the lineup that we've got, we're all solid members, but I think it will always come. People will dip in and out as and when.
Next week.
Yes, I guess March is tomorrow, isn't it?
Oh, yeah,
so it's literally next week. Next Thursday's our first show. We're only doing 4 shows.
Yeah, but obviously, I know you've been over to Europe in previous months, but this is the first time as Group of Man, isn't it?
Well, no, second time actually. You didn't come.
Oh yeah, that's why I don't know about it. It didn't happen.
So we went over. We just did 2 shows, but we went over with Pine. I think it was actually their first shows.
Oh, okay.
Or at least their second show. Which is a weird lineup for us both to play together, but it's super cool. So we just went and did a couple of shows in Holland, played Utrecht and Eindhoven, did a little fest. Our mate Marcher, who runs Space Food Group, booked a show. And Scared of Everything played as well. It was really good. So that was our first, and that was in May of last year. So they were I don't think we'd even done 5 shows. That was cool to go over. And then next week we're playing Nuremberg, Krakow, Wrocław, in Poland, and then doing a show in Budapest,
Okay.
and then doing a really long drive home.
Well, I was going to say, because obviously, again, it's just from the experiences of the bands that you used to be in that I know, but have you kind of found that the European audience has kind of embraced what you're doing? Because obviously, again, it is quite different to the norm almost.
I don't know, to be honest, I don't really know. Like, I just kind of forced myself on people, because and that was it. Like, the guy's booking us in Germany, he just posted something on like one of the sort of Euro tour kind of Facebook groups, and I was like, oh, like, we can play that show.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
hooked us up, and I said I can help him out. My friend's booking us in Budapest, and then we jumped on 2 shows in Poland.
Okay.
So I guess we're gonna literally find out. But like, no, I have no gauge on whether anyone in, mainland Europe knows what we do or not, really. But I always think like that's the way I've always done it. Like years and years ago, like when I did Hang the Bastard, like we would just like book some ragtag tour. Then the next tour would add like a few more days to it, and then it just goes from there.
Yeah.
And that's always been my attitude. You just like go and do whatever.
Yeah.
And see what happens, and then if your band like doesn't really suck, it will just get better. Like, and if you keep working hard and pushing it, then that's fine. Like I never expect like just people to know it or whatever.
Yeah,
like,
of course.
I've always done it. I had that sort of DIY mentality about just pushing it out yourself. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I mean, just that. Just work hard at it, and every year it'll get better and better. Hopefully, anyway.
And obviously you mentioned you've got a new sort of 7-inch coming out, but I did want to touch upon obviously the EP that you released at the beginning of the year. From kind of like reading like reviews and things of it, people kind of really well received it. But for you personally, how was kind of the writing process, and were there kind of any particular like themes that you wanted to push across in it? Because obviously, I think that the obvious one is the whole kind of Brexit Trump thing, but I don't know. Was there anything else that you personally put across in it, or?
I mean, lyrically, it's quite a strange one. I always with Grief and Man, I tried to be as different as what I've been in the past. I think like in the past, I was always like it was quite hard on your sleeve.
Yeah.
Without sounding like super emo. But yeah, kind of like just trying to say like it's alright to not worry about like Trump and Brexit and all that stuff. Like if you want to sit about and eat like vegan pizza and play PlayStation, that's cool. Like it doesn't mean that you're like not contributing to society and stuff like that. Do you know, like people, you're always expected to be doing stuff and like achieving stuff, and like some people don't want to do that. Like and that's okay, and sort of like trying to deal with like anxieties and stuff like that. That was kind of it really. Like it was quite a weird one. Like there's one song on there I was talking about like 80s horror movies. Okay. And trying to compare it to sort of anxiety inducing situations. That was quite a weird. I don't know how to explain it. I was like, it's kind of like this Lucio Fulci movie I watched one time, and just started talking about that, and was just sort of kind of trying to get in that state where you just write and see what happens. That's it really. It just mainly just be like, just do your thing and don't worry about what other people are doing. It does, as long as you're doing cool stuff that you think is cool, then that's great. You know what I mean? And it's sort of thinking about like our kind of DIY scene. It's not like a big thing, and even if you're just like playing like small shows and booking shows and stuff like that, it's not gonna like make these like great changes to the world. But it's still like, as long if everyone had that mentality, it would be a good thing. Do you know what I mean?
No, okay.
I don't know where I'm going with this. Can you chat about
Well, I
something?
was going to say, obviously, Stu, coming kind of obviously from the pre-show side of things into Gridman, obviously you said the first EP was basically already written, so it was kind of just slotting in, but obviously the new EP you've had more sort of input, and obviously the 7-inch you said you're kind of contributing more. So how was it for you to kind of go from writing that really heavy stuff with pre-show to writing stuff with Gridman?
Great. It was just nice. That makes it sound like I didn't enjoy Parisa, which is completely wrong. It's so different on almost every level as a band because of the writing process and the style of music and everything. It's just I don't know. I discovered what that sort of third and fourth string on my bass guitar are. They actually get used every now and again. Do you know what I mean? So it was it was just nice to be able to come and do something that was much more straightforward in terms of the structure of the music. It wasn't as frenetic and frantic and chopping and changing and, you know, made to be as complicated and technical as we were capable of playing, which is sort of what, not all, but a chunk of the Paraiso stuff ended up being. We always tried to do little angular, weird things with it. So, no, it's just nice to do something that's like, right, there's a verse, chorus, and it's all in 4/4. And I mean, you know, the first EP's a bit like an AC/DC record. It's got the same drum beat almost all the way through it. But I think that's because Mark's like programming skills left a little to be desired. He played about with drum loops and then finally struck on one that he liked and just copied and pasted it.
And as you mentioned, obviously there's kind of more progression with the 7-inch. So first and foremost, when's that coming out, and what kind of, is there any, once again, are there any particular themes that are going in that at all?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, I had to go back to what I said earlier because it's actually like super personal. It should be out. I mean, me and like a bunch of other labels are going to release it.
Okay.
Which is great because obviously it makes a 7-inch, which is really expensive. So you buy yourself a lot cheaper. So yeah, like Cult Culture, Smith's Food Group, Black Basset, Dingleberry Records, which is the best record, and Woar Records. Always makes me do like a farmer accent. Some German lad that I don't know, Marcher like hooked it up and he's going to sort it out. So we're all going to contribute and do it. So that hopefully it'll be out like May or June. Okay. As long as I don't know if Record Store Days in the middle of that. Mess it up. But yeah, so it's just 2 songs, and it's about being in a relationship where one person is struggling with mental illness, and like such as like depression and anxiety, and the other one isn't, and it's about like the give and take of that relationship. Whereas like, you know, if you never suffered from mental illness, like you've never had depression, you're never going to understand what it's like, and it's hard to as well. And if you know, like go into a shop outside your house, that's like, you know, if you can just walk to your shop and be fine, you're not going to get when someone's like, no, I can't go. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like almost crippling. So it's just about a lot of stuff I've learned recently about those sort of topics and how to help someone with it, especially when you can never like understand what they're going through as well. So that was it, really. You know, and that's that. Yeah, so I wrote about that, and that was just what happened. That was sort of just what was going on with me at the time when I wrote it. I mean, it's still going on now, and but that's just about those feelings, really.
And obviously, you've got the tour coming up in March. Have you got any, and obviously you said the release hopefully May. Have you got any other kind of plans for the rest of the year, or is it just at the moment take every day as it comes?
Yeah, we got loose plans. We always have loose plans, and then we see what happens. I mean, there's definitely a couple of split ideas. Okay.
Can you give anything away or not?
No, they probably won't happen.
Don't want to overcommit.
Don't want to jinx it.
Yeah.
No, that's cool.
We're gonna get another EP out, I think, or at least written and recorded is the idea.
Possibly working on a title for that at the moment. Okay. Mark were like playing about with something. He always sends me stuff and I'm just like, nah mate. Just to annoy him, and it's actually good. And then a week later I'll be like, yeah, that's really good.
He changed his mind and gone with something else.
Yeah. We had an interesting band practice the other day where there was 8 of us.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
So that was interesting. So
getting closer to my dream of being Slipknot. Yeah. Basically.
Is the next time I see you, you're just gonna be wearing like a pig mask or something?
Hopefully, yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think we'll try and be busy. We got like plans to do shows and stuff like that. Maybe some more Euro dates at the end of the year. Like once we've got another release out. Yeah. Talking with another bands, like doing some shows in April. We're playing Scared of Everything's last show.
Oh yeah, I saw that. So that was announced today, wasn't it?
I think our next 2 shows are around here.
Oh really?
So you'll probably see us with another lineup.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it for now. But yeah, I definitely want to keep busy. Just see what happens really. But they're the loose ideas.
Yeah. And the way that I like to end this is ask each member if there's, whilst you play live, is there one song that you enjoy more than the others in your set? So Stu, if I go with you first.
And
why as well?
It kind of varies, but I really enjoy playing the second proper song off the new EP, because it was actually probably the hardest song to figure out what the hell was going on when I got the demos for the first time, because but now that it's all sort of linked together and we've played it a few times live and done it with practice at practices together, especially with our 8-piece practice the other day. It's just a really fun song to play live. What's it called? I don't even know what it's called.
About Aftercare.
Yeah.
So it's the third song that you.
Yeah,
that's the song
Aftercare.
I was going to say as well.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's well aggro. Because our songs are quite like rock. Yeah. And then we got that one. We've got a couple of songs, but I think that's my favourite song to play, just because like it kicks off straight away.
Yeah.
Like it's just nice.
And the guitars and bass and drums all feel like they're doing something different.
Yeah. And then it gets weird at the end, so it can get a bit weird. Yeah, I know. I just think it's cool. Like super fast and like well aggro. I like the lyrics that I wrote for it as well. Like, I was just really happy with it when it was done. It's my favourite song on that EP. Yeah. That's it, man. Cool. I want to do more stuff like that. Really. Yeah. Well, I think potentially one of the splits we might do might be more along that like aggro. Okay, cool. Sort of like super short song kind of vibe. Cool. As well.
Brilliant. Well, thank you very much for your time, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, man.
I'm looking forward to the show.
Sick.
Cheers.
Cool. So there you have it, folks. Thanks again to Group of Man for taking the time to have a little chat with me. By the time this episode actually goes out, they'll have just finished their little European stint, but they've got plenty more shows coming up for the rest of 2017. So make sure you go check them out when they're in your town, city, country, wherever they are. If you want to keep up to date with the band, as always, they're on all various social media platforms. Facebook is /Group of Man Band. Twitter is @Group of Man Band. Instagram is Group of Man, all one word, or you can listen to them over at Bandcamp, which is groupofman.bandcamp.com. I forgot to say, for the last couple of episodes, you might have noticed that our intro/transition music has changed. Well, the wonderful man that is behind OHN has allowed us to use his music for all future shows. So the sample that we've taken is from the track Taxicab Blues. To listen to more of his stuff, head over to Bandcamp again. It's ohnmusic13.bandcamp.com. As always, you can give us some feedback or follow us over on Twitter at just_and_insight using the hashtag JAIPod. Or you can drop us an email at just_and_insight@hotmail.co.uk. And next week I have an in-depth discussion with Esben and the Witch, as I caught up with the trio before their recent Brighton show on their recent European and UK tour. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, thanks again for joining me, and I will see you soon.